We're finally here, guys. Remielle is on her way soon, and yes, she is even crazier than you'd think she is. She's one of the best new Anomaly agents in the game, and despite her seeming at times to be more support or team buff oriented, make no mistake, this is one of the most ridiculous releases that Zenless has ever had, on par with Ye Guang. That said, today I'll be going over what makes Remielle OP, why she's one of the best agents for most Anomaly teams honestly, and who you should consider taking with her to make your lineup insane. As a reminder, footage from today's video will come from the creator beta server, so things are subject to change, and if you haven't already, subscribe to support the channel and let me know what you're most excited for in version 3.1. Without further ado though, let's get straight into it. Remielle is an off-field Anomaly agent that plays technically more like a support than a traditional damage dealer, but again, she still does lots of damage, provides powerful team-wide buffs, contributes a respectable amount of days, and can even change her attribute depending on the teammate that she's paired with. With no exaggeration whatsoever, it really is a playstyle unlike anything that we've seen before, and it makes Remielle a true Anomaly in every sense of the word. To better understand how her kit actually works though, let's start by quickly breaking down her skills, though again, as a reminder and as usual, I'll be exploring and breaking down each skill further in the guide for Remielle upon her banner's release. Now to start, Remielle has two unique special resources, Floating Radiance and Void Flare. She generates Floating Radiance by attacking enemies, which is used to activate her first enhanced state, and this is something that we'll cover in more detail shortly. At the same time, her other resource, Void Flare, is generated whenever one of her teammates triggers Refringe, and this is the new reaction that comes from the new element Lumiflux. As for Remielle's core passive, this features a special multiplier that scales with her Anomaly proficiency that is tied to her mechanic, and if your team has 3 Anomaly agents, this multiplier is increased even further. Additionally though, whenever any squad member triggers Refringe, Remielle will gain Void Flare based on the element that activated said reaction, and she can also store up to 3 Void Flares at a time. Landing basic attacks, assists, or her ultimate will automatically trigger Luminize afterward, and Luminize specifically will have Remielle deal Anomaly damage based on the Anomaly effect strength that's stored in her Void Flare, with its damage also scaling based on her Anomaly proficiency. As a side note though, all stored Void Flare is also consumed whenever Remielle enters her enhanced state or performs her special enhanced basic attacks, but in regards to her additional ability, this activates when the squad includes another Anomaly agent or a teammate from the same faction. With this, when active, Remielle will deal additional days and grants a team-wide attack buff, with both effects being much stronger depending on the number of Anomaly agents on the team. The attack buff itself also scales based on Remielle's initial attack, and whenever any agent applies Lumiflux buildup to an enemy, they also inflict what's called Prismatic. Apologies guys, I know there's a lot of different terms here, but really Remielle's not as difficult or as complicated as she sounds. Now, when an enemy is affected by Prismatic though, they suffer an increase to their Anomaly buildup rate whenever they take damage, and although Prismatic disappears once Lumiflux buildup expires, the increased Anomaly buildup rate will linger for a few more seconds before actually wearing off. Now, as for Remielle's standard left-click basic attack, this is just a 4-hit combo that deals Lumiflux damage. The 4th hit though will apply 1 stack of Lumiflux buildup while also granting Floating Radiant. Holding down her basic attack though performs a special slash that deals Lumiflux damage and also grants Floating Radiance, but if Remielle has Void Flare stored, holding her basic attack instead unleashes an AoE that triggers Luminize with a fixed multiplier, consumes all stored Void Flare, and grants Floating Radiance. While she's in her second enhanced state, yes, she has 2, performing this held basic attack with stored Void Flare unleashes an even stronger attack, and this version will trigger Luminize with double the multiplier of the previous held attack, consumes all Void Flare stacks, and once again grants Floating Radiant. Her EX special applies 2 Lumiflux buildup points to all enemies that it hits, and when she has enough Floating Radiance while on the field, holding down her special or EX special will activate her enhanced state. Now, swapping to another agent at this point does still allow Remielle to attack from off-field, applying Lumiflux while gradually consuming Floating Radiance, but she automatically exits the state once all of her Floating Radiance is depleted, and while active, she also can't be swapped back onto field except through her chain attack. If Remielle triggers 3 Refringe reactions during her enhanced state though, or if she still has Void Flare remaining when Floating Radiance is fully consumed, her assist attacks also become available, and this allows her to re-enter the field. To add to this though, activating her enhanced state will also grant the entire squad an 18% damage buff, which is pretty huge. As for her assist and dodge, these are pretty straightforward, being used to evade or counter attack, but Remielle also has a unique assist attack that unleashes a large AoE Lumiflux attack as she enters the battlefield. Now, normally this attack will consume Floating Radiance, but if she has 90 or fewer of this resource, it can instead be activated without consuming any. Using this assist will also immediately place Remielle into her second enhanced state, and this upgrades her health basic to its stronger version with the higher damage multiplier. Now, what's most important about this though is that if said assist attack hits a stunned enemy, this will actually extend the target's stun duration, but as usual, this can only be triggered once per stun window and doesn't stack with other stun duration extension effects. To add to this though, the attack automatically triggers Luminize with a fixed damage multiplier when it connects, and overall, this is just an ability that you'll likely want to use every single time you can during said stun window. As for her chain attack, this deals massive Lumiflux damage, applies 2 Lumiflux buildup points to enemies hit, and it also transitions her into her second enhanced state. This is also the only way to unlock her stronger version of the held basic attack, which makes it of course very important. Lastly though, as for Remielle's ultimate, this is just a powerful AoE Lumiflux attack that is pretty flashy, but also deals massive damage while triggering the Luminize effect. As for pre-farm materials, as usual, you'll need 3.7 million Dennies, 300 senior investigation logs, 25, 75, and 250 of the Lumiflux chips, 4, 32, and 30 of the basic, advanced, and controller certification seals, 5 hamster cage passes, 9 time-worn husks, and 60 higher dimensional data of the deep erosion circuits. Now let's break down what to expect for Remielle, her partners, and teams. But first, yes, a disclaimer, as these are really important. First, you can find all the results shared on my Discord, complete with images that you can scroll through, as again, there really isn't enough time to cover every single lineup and run that I tested. That said, if there's a specific result that you're curious about that isn't shown here, feel free to DM or ping me about it, though yes, even if it's not shown in this video, I've tested a very large list of the agents and pairing combinations. There just isn't enough time to fit all of it in a single video. However, finally, and something that's kind of been constantly overlooked with Anomaly teams and that I'd like to talk about, is the impact of every member's drive discs in Anomaly team. To be honest, when I first tested characters like Nangong, Velina, and even Remielle, I was shocked at the scores I'd been receiving, as they were much lower than I'd expected for characters who should have been ranking much higher. However, what I was missing was a priority on and the importance of an Anomaly team's supports disk drive. Yes, the likes of Nangong and Velina with a proper set of discs does actually make a crazy difference in score, and though I understand this sounds obvious, there are lots of times where simply reaching a specific threshold like 50% crit rate on a stunner is enough to activate a passive, and then players stop rolling for discs after reaching this point. Unfortunately though, this isn't really the case with some of the more recent Anomaly agents, as even though they are technically quote-unquote supports, the damage and scalings of these agents are much more relevant to your total score than you'd think. In fact, my initial scores before heavily investing into Velina's drive discs were 4,000 to 5,000 points lower than after I had about 24 to 25 effective substats on her instead. So in short, though you may be able to get away with certain characters like Dylan just reaching 100 crit rate, Astra with double attack percent main, or something similar to this, I ask that you do prioritize and actually value the impact of your support's drive discs. Your Anomaly team scores will appreciate it, I promise. Moving along, as we move to Remielle's strongest teams, you guessed it, these primarily revolve around her being paired with Velina, creating the new highest performing Anomaly duo that you can use to boost basically any Anomaly team's scores to the top with. Teams like Remielle, Aria, and Velina, however, led the pack with a 56,200 in Deadly Assault and a 47,500 in Shield defense, both of which are insane scores, followed closely behind by Remielle, Promeia, and Velina at 54,800 and 45,300, while Remielle, Bernice at P6 and Velina was also still very strong with a 48,300 and 44,900 in Shield defense. Now, I'll be honest, all of these are pretty insane and comfortably exceed the S-rank thresholds for Deadly Assault and Shield defense, and this makes this one of Remielle's most consistent and dominant setups thanks to Velina's synergy with Anomaly scaling and team-wide damage increases. If at this point you're considering whether this kind of feels similar to that of Ye Guang, the answer is kind of yeah. To be clear though, in terms of play, these are not only Remielle's strongest teams, these are also some of the easiest teams to play as well, as basically all you're doing is trying to apply as many anomalies as possible, and then allow Remielle to use her assist attacks, her held basic attacks, and effectively one-shot anything on the field. Now though I did just touch on the best teams for Remielle, I did also want to talk about Aria and Promeia variants of her teams, as these play much different and also much better than a lot of the other teams that we'll get into in a moment. On that note, without Velina, Remielle can still perform quite well even alongside other Anomaly DPS options like Aria and Promeia, and Remielle, Aria, and Promeia for instance had a 47,000 in Deadly Assault, though this eventually dropped to 33,800 in Shield defense. Alternatively though, you also had Remielle, Aria, and Alice perform with a 43,500 in Deadly Assault, but a 38,000 in Shield defense, which again is still quite promising. Remielle, Promeia, and Bernice at P6 though trailed slightly behind this though at a 41,700 and 36,700, but as is notable here, the teams are still clearing S rank again very comfortably, though yes, this is definitely weaker than the Velina cores, and there is a pretty noticeable drop in score, and even their score ceiling, especially in Shield defense. Now, older Anomaly agents are still pretty strong here when paired with Remielle too, especially when Velina is included of course, but this does mean that a team like Remielle, Yanagi, and Velina could score a 45,000 28,000 in deadly assault and a 36,700 in shield defense. But hold on a moment, as actually Zenless zzzero added a sneak buff into Miyabi and Aria's kits, where they're actually able to be paired with other Anomaly agents in general now, which also allows a team like Remielle, Miyabi, and Velina to reach a 41,700 and a 36,800 in shield defense, while Remielle, Vivian, and Velina had a 45,400 in deadly assault and 37,000 in shield defense. Of course, these are not the top of the top lineups, however, they are again still very good, and this level of consistency and high scoring is something that really we haven't seen since Ye Guang's testing. And as usual, if you're able to buff not just newer units but older agents at the same time, this is actually pretty insane value. On that note though, if you're someone that started more recently in 3.0, or if you're coming to Zenless because of Remielle in 3.1, I actually also have some more accessible teams here. To be clear, Remielle still enables solid S-rank clears even with more free-to-play or lower investment characters. Remielle, Grace at P6, and Rina at P6 reached a 30,500 in deadly assault and just below the S-rank threshold of 24,300 in shield defense. Meanwhile though, Remielle, Grace at P6, and Jane at P6 also had a 29,800 in deadly assault and a 22,100 in shield defense, while Remielle, Jane at P6, and Piper also landed a 28,400 and 21,600 in shield defense. Now, to be clear, yes, these teams were definitely lacking in shield defense, as the boss was definitely not a great matchup for some of the free-to-play characters, but if you're just starting out, these are definitely acceptable and usable scores, especially if you're just trying to get the premium currency. And as I mentioned previously, with enough tries, better gear, and enough runs, you'll definitely be able to get an S rank in both modes. Now, I know the question of whether Remielle is actually worth it for a team deserves an answer, but there's actually a very important distinction that we need to make before we answer this question. When comparing Remielle to Yuzuha and Nangong, you're really looking at two completely different roles, despite all three technically being tied to anomaly-focused teams. Remielle is an off-field anomaly agent who quote-unquote supports the team and provides strong team-wide buffs, but she also happens to be one of the highest damage shares for any teams that she's placed on. Her value comes from buffing the team's damage, yes, but she also contributes respectable days and off-field damage, which is something that Yuzuha and Nangong may be able to do in their own way, but with a much lower share of damage overall. That said, despite the drastically different playstyle, Remielle replacing an agent like Yuzuha or Nangong often accounts for a massive 10 to even 14,000 score increase depending on the lineup, which I'll say it is just unreal. Of course, however, these teams also have different goals in mind when it comes to gameplay, and this makes the comparison not feel quite as fair, since it's more of a comparison of a hypercarry Promeia team versus a sub-DPS Promeia and Remielle hypercarry team. The answer here is quite clear though. Even if Remielle is taking the spotlight as the main damage dealer, so long as you're okay with this and other anomaly agents taking a lesser role while she's blowing up everything in sight, this is one of the most valuable pickups in Zenless's history, and you should definitely be considering her. Now let's move to Remielle's build options, starting with her W engine. Her signature provides a 36% attack main stat, and its passive grants 96 anomaly proficiency, and whenever Remielle triggers Refringe, her attribute anomaly damage is increased by 20%, while all squad members also gain a 30% damage buff. This is pretty crazy. Among the limited S-rank alternatives, Time Weaver and Flamemaker Shaker are also pretty good thanks to the 30% attack main stat, which helps of course with Remielle's attack scaling, but Time Weaver specifically also provides additional anomaly proficiency, and though you aren't necessarily always able to take advantage of the disorder damage, it is still a very strong option, especially if Velina isn't on the team. Meanwhile, Flamemaker Shaker offers energy regen, increased damage, and extra anomaly proficiency too, making it the ideal alternative when of course Velina is on the team. Now otherwise, Fusion Compiler is another strong option as it features a pen ratio main stat, its passive increases attack by 12%, and whenever Remielle uses an EX special or special attack, she gains 25 AP, stacking up to 3 times. Lastly though, Weeping Gemini is the best A rank alternative here. It provides a 25% attack main stat, while its passive grants 48 AP whenever any squad member inflicts an anomaly. As you'd expect, and since it's also craftable, this is a fantastic free-to-play option that also performs surprisingly well. Now, when it comes to drive discs though, Remielle's best 4-piece set is Feathered Fate, and this is of course obviously made for her kit. The 2-piece effect grants 30 AP, while the 4-piece provides an additional 50 AP whenever she enters or is swapped onto the field. It also increases her attribute anomaly damage by 15%, and this of course makes it her ideal and strongest set. As for her 2-piece set, Chaos Jazz and Freedom Blues are great options, as both grant 30 AP. However, if you're struggling to reach the attack needed to max her team-wide attack buff, Hormone Punk or Astro Voice of course are also great options here too. Finally though, if none of these are available, or if for whatever reason you'd like pen ratio, you could also use Puffer Electro here too. As for main stats though, you'll have Anomaly Proficiency proficiency on slot 4, followed by attack percent on both slot 5 and slot 6. And as for substats, you'll prioritize anomaly proficiency first, then attack percent, followed by flat attack and flat pen next. As for stat goals, your main priority should be getting as close to 4,000 attack as possible while reaching around 350 to 400 anomaly proficiency to maximize both her personal damage and the strength of her team-wide attack buff. That said, for builds that are just starting out, or if you're newer to Zenless and disk drive farming, 3.5k attack and 325 anomaly proficiency will also work for now. Now let's move to Remielle's pros and cons. For pros, she's easily the best anomaly buffer, DPS, and do-it-all agent that you can basically ask for from the anomaly role, and despite technically being designed to work best while off-field, she actually shows up a lot on field, and make no mistake, you'll see her. To add to this, of course, though, she has a dedicated set made just for her, has a lot of teams that she works in, and she also does amazingly alongside Velina in the current wind endgame focus modes, and finally, she's a major contributor and member of one of the best Zenless teams in the game at the moment. As for cons though, her gameplay can definitely feel a little bit confusing at times, or cause some sensory overload with how much is going on all at once, and you may never want to play another team after seeing her on your screen as much as you do. Now, as usual, the question of Remielle's pull value is always dependent on your preference and your account, and ultimately what someone on the internet says about what a character's worth is to you should mean much less than, well, what you think. However, here's what we do know about Remielle. She's arriving as easily one of the best new anomaly agents in the game, and especially in certain lineups like alongside Velina, she really is just outscoring everything and everyone. To add to this, Zenless also sneakily adjusted the passives of both Aria and Miyabi to perfectly align and work with Remielle so that you can use them alongside the Void Hunter, and really, that's just the start of how crazy of an agent she is. For basically any player who wants to improve or build upon their anomaly teams, Remielle is accounting for a near 10,000 plus score increase at times compared to other lineups that even include the likes of Yuzuha when compared to Remielle at the same time. But that said, one very important disclaimer about Remielle teams is that even when you're taking strong anomaly agents like Aria, Promeia, or any anomaly agent you think does lots of damage alongside Remielle, they can often actually just end up being batteries or supporting cast members to Remielle, who will then actually just end up doing a majority of the damage. So with this, if you don't care for Remielle's design, hate anomaly, or aren't really wanting a new hyper carry type DPS to outshine your Promeia or Aria, you could of course probably pass on her. But that's certainly not what I'm going to be doing personally. That's everything you need to know about Remielle, her teams, and who to look out for if you're planning on setting up teams for her in advance. Thanks again for watching, guys. Remielle is definitely a beast, and I'll see you all next time. Stay safe, stay healthy, good night.